Don here. Okay, back with another live stream. I'm going to work on something. I'm taking a little sidetrack off the HP server because I need to do something with my little 4K camera. Let me get over here on the desktop first and make sure my stream's working. I need to do something with got a picture. Okay. And I'm just going to close the browser so it doesn't use up all my resources. Let me check in on everything else. I'm backing up the files on Cam 1. I didn't realize it was going to take so long, but there's a bunch of, I was using it for a security camera, so it's got a whole bunch of little short videos on it. And I wanted to back it up before I deleted them because I got a real security camera now. Okay, everything looks good. So anyway, it turns out I can, I didn't think I could really do it, but I can do that. I can run that. The Wi-Fi chip on the camera can actually handle that and streaming. It seems just fine. Or streaming on my local network, and then the stream out to YouTube is 4,034 right this second. You know, it changes constantly. So that's about 4 gigabits. Yeah. That's kilobits per second, so 4,560, I think. Yeah, that's about 4 gigabits, if I remember right. I think it was usually generally around 2, but I don't usually even look at that. I just happen to think to look. It's down here on the right bottom of the OBS screen. I've been looking at it more lately because I can't run. My laptop can't handle playing YouTube anymore since the last update on YouTube's code. You know, they made it more resource use intensive. So anyway, back to what it is I want to do. I'm trying to look. I'm doing kind of different. My Cam 4 is not hooked up. It's sitting right here. Kind of busy up in here with all my tripod for my endoscope and everything. But here's the camera. And I'll show you on the endoscope what I'm going to do. That's probably what I'll just do. That, you know, I'll do it like this. So this camera is a Komery brand, you know, China camera. It has a USB output, and that's how I use it with my streams. It has a USB output to plug it into your. Trying to do it. Trying to plug it in and leave it to work and be seen on the camera. It's the best way I could set it up and have it be seen, but not have me see it all that good. Oh, there we go. Yes, I have to get to where I can see it. I can't do it in the camera. Is it going to plug in? Has it got twisted or what? No, it should be right. I just can't find. There it goes. It goes right in. When you hit it, it goes right in there. So. Trying to see what's the best angle with that plugged in there. All right, now here's the problem. You can't see it, I guess. This is how I've been doing it ever since I got it. I just put a real nice tight rubber band on there. Gives it some strain relief so that you're not, you know, if you bump into it or, well, I used to sometimes, you know, carry it around while it was plugged in, but, and there's just, it wouldn't, I mean, maybe I could have got something tighter than that rubber band, but was a pretty stiff one. But anyway, yeah, I can pull on it and it moves more than it probably should. But anyway, so I've left it plugged in almost all the time, and really the biggest, I've tried to, you know, I'm always trying to be careful when I move it. The biggest problems I've had is when I don't have a room to set it anywhere, so I'll set it in one place during the day, set it somewhere else while I'm using it, set it over here on the right side of my desk at night, because I'm over there by my bed, my rack. That's where I set my drinks and stuff at night, you know. So anyway, that has got a tremendous amount of play in it now, and I've never yanked it out or anything by accident. But a week or two ago, I was making a live stream, and I just grabbed my handle, and actually I had my rubber band more back out like that because I didn't want such a tight bend. You know, I wanted it to be more natural as to how the cable wants to bend, so I had it on out there. But that made me touch it accidentally and bump it, you know, when I'd go to grab the handle. And when I did it, I noticed I kind of bumped it like that, you know. and a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if I noticed it immediately. I think maybe it kind of worried me, and I looked over at my stream. I was using, doing a live stream, and it disconnected just briefly, just long enough for. And when you disconnect the USB in OBS Studio, and if you plug it back in, it doesn't come back. You have to close OBS Studio and open it back up again. So to get it to work again. So I found that out with my endoscope before I ever got this one. Let's see, where do I want to have it? I want to have enough room to get my stuff in there, but actually I wanted it plugged in. And I have put Scotch tape over the. It also has an HDMI output, but I don't have an HDMI input on my computer or anything, so I can't use that to stream. I could if it. But I don't think, I think that would be too much bandwidth though for the stream anyway. I might later, when I get done setting up my server, it can handle it. I also don't think this computer could handle that much bandwidth of, processing video. Anyway, it has a little rubber cover, and then there's also an audio input for an external mic. So I didn't want to get any. What I'm going to use is hot glue. Seems like everybody's favorite fix these days. I never thought much of it. I've had this hot glue gun for many years, and it adheres surprisingly well, but if you're, especially in electronics, most electronics is going to heat up inside. It could be hot enough to melt it easily, anything that's in the heat or needs a real strong bond, you ought to, I'd be using epoxy or like if you need something that's kind of flexible, good old-fashioned silicone is really good for about anything you can think of. Just as long as you get a clean, clean the spot where you're going to stick it and let it dry good before you mess with it. Good thing about the hot glue is that it'll dry fast. and the other thing, it was always hard, you could scrape and scrape and scrape trying to get it off, and you just mess up what you got there, scratch it all up. But I don't know, 6 months, a year, I don't know. Sometime within the last 2 years, I saw a video. Wasn't even really looking for one like that, but I saw a video. YouTube knows what you like, I saw a video that said you could use regular old rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and it would make that stuff let go in a heartbeat, and it works. And so now I'm not so, worried about putting it on stuff. I didn't want this to be, the reason I let it get to this point is because I just thought, well, I don't want it on there all the time. Sometimes I want to pick it up and use it all by itself, not plugged into the computer, and I do. But, and I've got this 10 or 16, I think it's a 16-foot cable. There you go. That's the other thing that causes trouble is if me dropping it. Anyway, I'm trying to get in this. I've got that 16-foot cable. See, that's what you're yanking against it. Like when I move it around sometimes, sometimes I nearly drop something. I'm always dropping everything. And anyway, that cable is now going to be, I probably better get something better than this rubber band now that I'm really hooking it on there. I guess I'll just use a zip tie. I've got some zip ties in here. Actually, I think I'll do that right now because I don't want it moving while it's drying. So I'll just leave the rubber band on there and zip tie it, and then if the rubber band starts to bother me, then I will put it back over here where maybe I can see to plug it in. I don't have enough room. Every time I move this 2 inches, the legs fall off of my work table here. There we go. But yeah, and I looked at it. Let's do it again. It doesn't, you can't visibly see that, that the connector, the metal part of the connectors are bent, either one of them. They look perfect. Keyboard all the way here. There. I kind of had it all lined up in a way that looked really good. But yeah, see, it doesn't look out of shape or anything. And sometimes these, with USB, the bigger ones, the full-size ones, these will break. The plastic, that's just plastic in there, and that's not a conductor. It's really what makes it tight, I think, and kind of stay in there. And I don't want to stick anything, the battery's still in it and everything. I don't want to stick anything metal in there. I'm using a big pen top. I wouldn't want to, you know, I don't, well, there shouldn't be, well, with the battery in there, I was just a little worried that what if there is some power to that, but it's really going the other direction. This is an input, not an output, but never know how things might be wired. Actually, it is probably connected straight to the battery. So if you shorted it, you probably would blow something out. Because it goes, well, it probably goes through a BMS, battery management system. But I can't feel it or see it moving. And when I get in there, I can't see for the shadow it makes. But I looked at it with my magnifying glass the other day, and I couldn't see it. And if you stick your fingernail in there, you can't feel it move at all. So probably, it's probably more the metal has gotten wallered out a little bit. Probably the female one there, because this one, it's really a tough one, the way it's formed and everything. So I was thinking, you know, about trying to get some needle nose pliers or something and squeezing on it and tightening it back up, but I decided to forego that idea for a past experience of making things worse when you do things like that. Yeah, that has to, you know, if it gets bumped, it will disconnect the contacts. Contacts are on this side, inside there, and so if it goes that way, it disconnects. And that moves quite a bit. Up and down might cause a disconnect too. I would say that way would be the one that would really cause it to disconnect. So makes me think. Yeah, since I looked at it and I know the contacts are on this side. Wonder, it just wants to fall right out of there now. Can we see that on there? Yeah, we can. There's the contacts in here, and so when you put it in, that brings them around like I was saying. So I think I'm going to tie this thing. I'm going to take that rubber band out, and I'm going to tie it on the other side so that it has some pressure over that way. And then once the hot glue dries, it should stay much, you know, it's not going to wiggle anymore. That's the whole point. Hot glue will stop it from wiggling. And I know this will work, should work, because I think I'll unplug it while I get this rubber band off of here. Because I did it on I have these two Seagate backup drives that have a much smaller and easier connector. They're proprietary USB connectors that they made up, probably to keep people from using, you know, cheap Chinese or whatever country and companies connectors that are made shorted, you know, or something, and having their drives come back blown up, you know, burned up because of that, because such bad cables around. I wouldn't blame them for that, but and like I said, I cleaned this with alcohol hours ago, and it's had plenty of time to dry. But see, I had it about right in there, because that was more of the natural bend on it. But if you kind of do it like that, it'll yeah. And I don't want to put it on the metal, because then it won't, I don't think it'll stay in place very well. About right there, yeah, about right in there. And that seems to want to keep it fairly straight. Yeah, if I adjust it right. And let's leave that right there while I get my zip ties. I wasn't thinking about doing that. It just hit me that, yeah, that's what I ought to be doing. Get my cutter. And I think I'll just grab the bag. I had them in here to do other things with, and so that was lucky. I'm working on my vent fan for the server when I was using them, but now let's see. can find the right camera again. For some reason I can't see any of my, can't read anything on my deal. So, yeah, I'll just stay on that camera until I go back to doing. I'm trying to decide which one I want. I don't like to waste a longer one than I actually need. You know, these little ones might be just the ones. I don't, yeah, because then I can run a couple of these little ones one way and then the other way and make sure it's kind of crisscrossed and staying in there. I was thinking about just putting one big one on there, but those are long enough for much other purposes, and then I have some even longer than that. So I don't know if how many I'm going to use. I just grabbed some, but that one's dirty. Okay, so let's see. I think that's a good angle right there. Yeah, I want it to be kind of straight. Right there, I guess. That way when I'm still, you know, that way if I bump it, well, once it's glued, it won't move anyway, unless it got dropped or something, it could mess it up. But can't tell what's the right position, really. I guess if it was plugged in, I would know, but how would I know? I'd have to look at I guess if the light went on and off. I really don't want to work on it live, but what if I get it in the wrong place? Well, it hasn't been like going on and off unless I actually really bump it. So I think, yeah, I think if I just kind of center it, it's probably been mostly hanging down, not up. But if it goes to the right, then that would disconnect for sure. I can tell how much it's moving to the left would be. So let's see. I guess it would be, I don't know if that'll jack up OBS Studio if I plug it in. I don't have got that laptop running. I could plug it into it. But I'm just wanting to see the power light come on, the charge light. I guess that's actually a good idea. Because if I get it all glued up and it actually has it in the wrong position, you know, to where it won't be on, then I have to use that alcohol to get it loose and start all over again, you know. So yeah, the laptop is running, and it's my web server right now. Has been for a long time, actually. Where are the USBs up there? I didn't. My cables are getting hung. I didn't realize how how much it could move. I didn't notice. I didn't look. You know, I hadn't caught on to just how much it could really move. Oh, that one's got the back. I have to go all the way to the back. The wireless mouse is plugged in there. Well, I guess I can unplug it though. Yeah, let's just do that. Oh, there's another one right under it. I thought there was two. I was looking beside it, not under it. There. That should be enough to, I wonder if it's going to show anything. Oh, I hadn't turned it on yet. Now, did that make, yeah, the light came on. Okay. That's all I want. I don't want the thing running. Then every time I wiggle it, it would turn it off. Okay, let's get back into the close-up view. And where are we? Yeah, here we go. I was trying to get the light in the picture there. Oh, it's way, yeah, you can't hardly see it. I have to get so far away. Okay, let's try getting close like I want to be and then just bringing this down. There we go. Not too far. This tripod just suddenly lets loose when you get below a certain point. I've worked on it several times. It don't want to cooperate. Let's see, what if I put it right there? Yeah, that ought to be, it's a little blurry, but well, I'm using this to see what I'm doing. I need to be close enough to see what I'm doing. Okay, now. Yeah, see how much that moves? Just hardly any pressure whatsoever. Okay, so the light, yeah, the light didn't ever go out though, did it? So I must have hit it a lot harder than I realized, because it's not losing connection. I said, like all that stuff I said, my infinite wisdom here of how things, you think you know out of experience what's happening, but if you don't test it for sure, for somehow, you don't know for sure. So it's not losing power, but I guess I bumped it just hard enough to really, I might have, well, it didn't come out. I do remember it wasn't coming out or anything. So it's not as critical. I was afraid the alignment could be really critical, I need to be close, but I also need to be able to get my, I need to be close enough so it's not blurry, but I also need to be able to get my hot glue gun in there. They never mention it, but there's probably might possibly be better ways to do this, more professional looking and working, a way to get it on and off that I noticed. There's a look. I don't want to take it out because it's hard to get back in there, but and it moved. It's really dangling in there though, but can't really see it. Tried the old extra magnification trick. Is that too much light or what? Thing is, this thing has a light on it, so that there, you see that screw? There's two screws, one up high and one down low, and I thought, if you could get a, you know those motherboard riser studs, they got threads on male threads on the bottom, and they're a hex, and it's usually about a 3/8 to a 1/2 inch tall, and then there's another. They're something around. Well, they're a coarse thread. There's something around a number 10, but not a machine thread, and they're of course going to be metric too. But anyway, they something. If you could find, I have seen maybe one or two that had fine threads on them. I've got some down there, but anyway, I'm not going to do that. But if you just had two of those and then screw that plate on, take those screws out, screw the plate on with that, and that's how you could also access it if you had. I think you could fix it if you took that off. I didn't want to take that off and mess anything else up. And then you could put on. You could make you or buy you or build you some kind of bracket to hold on to this, and then plug it in, and then it'd need to be some kind of plate or something. It'd really be kind of hard to make if you had, and you weren't going to buy something just for that. But anyway, it'd have to screw onto there and then screw onto the other one. I don't know if it's on the same side. It's probably on the other side. I noticed it's on the side instead of in the middle. But so it's a possibility, but there's less room on this side than I realized. So it would be a very slim possibility, I would say now, after really looking at it. This camera's not a high resolution, so it's kind of hard to get it. It's always going to look a little fuzzy and soft no matter where you get. Yeah, I got to have room to work, so I guess I'll stay out here. Okay. Oh, yeah, I was going to show that. Keep forgetting. Let's see. There we go. That'll kind of show what I'm doing for this part of it. So I can watch that light and see that it's not disconnecting, so that's actually good. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to leave it on the bottom, and then actually it's not going to be set in any particular place. That's what I'll do. I'll push that way on it when I put my hot glue in there. And I'll try to put these where I don't grab them and get poked. But I'll show you a trick I learned years ago. But and I had a job in 2000 installing telecommunications equipment in telephone company central offices, call them telcos. And I've got to get that to where I can tighten it. And oddly enough, most of AT&T, Ma Bell, what used to be Ma Bell, most of them use string to tie all the cables in the rack, and I had to go to a class up in Ohio to learn how to do that and do wire wrapping, if you ever heard of that. I had to buy $500 worth of tools for the job, but it turned out good. It didn't end up. It was the tail end of the telco boom, and I really only got to work there for, let's see, 8 to 10 months. I'd never done that kind of work before, but I knew about AC and DC wiring from other jobs I'd had over my life. But anyway, I really enjoyed learning because I'm really that's always been, it's part of the internet. It's how the internet works. We were installing DSL equipment some of the time. A lot of what I did was installing battery equipment. They use -40. Telephone company uses negative 48 volts DC batteries to run your phones and everything, your wired phones. But all the wireless comes through there too. It has to be routed. So anyway, let's stop talking about that. So anyway, this is a pair of flush cutters. One of the first things they told me to get. I got mine. They used to be so good, but they've gotten messed up. I paid about $25 for them too. Oddly enough, at Radio Shack they were good. They were pretty good. Anyway, you cut that off, and it cuts it short enough. It's still feel a little bit there, but it cuts it short enough. And when they were new, they cut it to where you could really not get cut on it. Now you could get a scrape, but you won't get a deep gash like you would if you just cut them with these. Look at that. You're never going to get close with that. So, or any kind of wire cutters. So, I want to go the opposite way this time. Okay, I went that way this time. I want to go, what, this way, that way, this way. That's going to end up being the same thing. How do you do that? Okay. Let's see. Trying to see for myself, but also I wanted to show it. Is that different? It's confusing. I'm going to have to turn it a different way so I can see it. There we go. I got it. Barely reaches. I think I'll put the deal back this way. I think 2 of them's going to be way plenty. I don't actually want it on the bottom. I want it to be where I guess that's going to be where it's going to go, whether I like it or not. And that's a really good way to grab that right close and then twist your needle nose. Just don't do it too hard, you're going to break the deal. You can do it harder than you might think. And that's a best way I've seen to get them really tight. Because if you just keep on tugging on them straight out, you never quite get them snugged up. It does pretty good, but not good enough. Yeah, but not do that. I have a fingernail file over there. I was fixing to grab it and use it to sand on that a little bit. But I have a file in here and some other sandpaper and stuff in my little toolbox. It's just that I got all kinds of bottles of screws in the way. Grab something out of here that can. Let's see. This is actually supposed to be a fingernail file, but it's really smooth, but it doesn't do any good on your fingernails. But it's pretty good for this kind of stuff. It's not working. Let's get something that'll do it to it. I think I have an emery board in there. It is. Thought I did. I just can't get it to it. It moved and now I can't even see it anymore. Maybe I never did find it. There it is. I thought I felt it. I couldn't see it. I felt it. So I'll switch back to a bigger view since that's so blurry for right now. This piece of sandpaper is so worn out that I used it the other day, and it actually still worked, surprisingly. I was doing something, I don't remember what. Yeah, this is a regular small fingernail file, and it's working. It should work. I mean, emery board. But since that's right where my fingers and thumbs are going to go most of the time, I don't want that being sharp in the slightest. It'll startle you, even if it don't, you know, it probably won't cut, it might not even cut you, but it'll startle you so much you're going to let go of the camera and drop it if you're carrying it. If I'd have done that from the beginning, this might not have happened. It could have still, because that can still be moved by bumping into it and everything. But the biggest problem I noticed was right when I thought I was holding it good, or like I said, I have trouble with my hands dropping things, my legs giving out for years and years, and never know when it's going to happen. And now the dust. So I guess I'll put this stuff out of the way. I think I'll put those two in there. I usually always keep at least a couple of zip ties in that toolbox, and I think I used them all. Okay, now a lot of dust. It's all over my hands. I'll stop rewinding. Okay, but that's nice and smooth now. So let's get back up here. And that's got it where it doesn't want to move. It won't move up and down hardly at all. I mean, if you bumped it, it could, but it's not flopping in the breeze like it was. Move these tools so that they won't be in. Whoops. Some of my tools I brought in from outside, and my tools from outside out in the garage, and some I keep in here. And I try to keep them straight, because if I don't keep it straight, I'll be hunting for no telling how long, maybe days, not knowing, never thinking about where, you know, oh, it might be in the house or it might be in the garage. Okay, now get this lined up again. That light just happened to already be on when I plugged in that endoscope, and let's try a little more, I guess. It was perfect with the, it's where it was. It's really handy, but if you got anything shiny, then it'll reflect off of it. You got to reach over to the computer to brighten it up. There we go. There's a bit of a delay, so it's kind of hard to see it in the. And you got to wait for it. I keep moving it, and I can't tell by just, yeah, it doesn't look the same in real life that it does in the camera, but I'm going to there. I think that's it. I'm going to try using the camera. Now that thing's bright. It's one of them little LED rings on the end of that camera. So now it's, I think I may not be able to use it like that. It's going to blind, yeah, I can't see nothing but that light. It's blinding me. My eyes are real sensitive to light. So that was the end of that idea. I wonder if it'd be better with, I don't think it'd be better without it. Would it? No. It's just enough for it to, come on, where'd it go? That's probably about as bright as I can stand and look over that way. Okay. Maybe a little more, because it's not really helping much on the there. If I'm going to be using the, I think I'm back pretty much where I was. If I'm going to be using the, there's another zip tie in the floor. We'll put it in the toolbox. Okay, so if I'm going to be using the light, I mean the preview on my video, then I need, I plugged in, I tried to guess how long I would have this glue gun running before I actually used it, and boy was I way off. It's been running. It didn't, I was afraid it was going to use up a whole stick of glue sitting there melting stuff, but it didn't, so. Here's what I need to do anyway. I need to stand up because I can't. I can kind of let that help me, but I got to actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah, I'm going to push it over that way. And I'm just going to put some on the top. Let it run down. I do not know. Can't see it well enough to tell how much I'm putting in there. Yeah, I'm sure glad I masked that off because I'd be really messing up getting it in that deal. I don't know. Well, it stays on. Where's my light? The light's off. I wonder if it finished charging. Well, it hasn't been going on and off, so quit moving it. Just messing things up. I guess I was kind of thinking maybe I should have had it. I thought, oh, I may be messing up not having it, you know, sitting the other way. But running down is actually good so that it doesn't build up. I cannot see. Let me see, look in the picture. All I can see in the picture is just where I'm going with it, not how much. It's clear, you know. So it's just going to be a big mess is what it's going to be. But once it dries, maybe I can clean it up a little bit. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to be messing around with my little knife quite a bit, trying to stop putting it on there and look at it. But yeah, I didn't lose it. I bet you this thing's been on for a couple of hours. And one time I melted almost a whole stick, but it's just been. Well, I set it, you know. Folgers coffee lid, those big plastic containers. You know, set it in upside down and set it in that. We save them for, you know, whatever we want to use them for. They're pretty handy. And anyway, so it built up a little pile of it, and then once it touched the nozzle, I noticed it quit coming out. So I guess that it cools it or something as it comes out, and it doesn't just keep on dripping. So yeah, I didn't like it sticking down. I would move it every once in a while when it was sitting there running, and that wasn't a good idea after all. It makes it just leak more. I don't want to move I can move the camera. Let's try that. I can't really tell. I wonder if they sell like red or black glue sticks. Of course, black probably wouldn't show up on this either because this thing is black, but just so I could see what I was doing. Might be worth it. Let's move this back out of the way so I don't knock it off. Yeah, I just keep sitting there right over that mound of glue. I wanted this to be quick, but I knew it wouldn't be. It wouldn't have been quick even if I wasn't making a video. But I'm planning on doing another video, so that's why I thought, well, I'm going to be setting up video anyway. Too close. I was trying to move it and it wasn't cooperating. I finally realized it. Oh, I see. It was that the camera was. See, this camera, this endoscope, is on a very stiff cable, and you can't tell the orientation. Okay, now I can see it a little bit. Let's see. Anyway, it was moving not with the tripod. I've got it zip tied to a 1-inch paper clip, and it works good. I've been doing it. I've got it on my 2 phones and this big paper clips. Bought them things almost 20 years ago on accident. I didn't know I was getting such big ones, and never had use for them really until now. Didn't ever want that big of a wad of paper. Oh, okay, yeah. And the underneath I'm not going to worry about unless after this dries. Now, after this dries, maybe I'll probably go ahead and put another bead around the bottom side. Give it more up and down, you know, resistance to movement. But yeah, it's leveled off pretty good and ran on off. It looks like we're definitely going to have to do some carving to be able to plug in you know what? To be able to plug in HDMI, and I don't have really any way to use it other than the TV in the living room, and I don't do that. But I don't think you can plug them both in and have them one, you know, I don't think you can do that. It won't, probably just nothing will happen. Or you'll get some kind of error in the screen or something. I never tried it, but yeah, they're really close together. So yeah, see, I can see it's up over my Scotch tape. So whenever I go to, once it's dry and everything, that's the other thing I don't like about this stuff. It's impossible to do a neat job with it, for me anyway. And that pretty well filled up that crack over there. That's a very narrow spot, and it's filled. It's going to be upside down. Oddly enough, the way I had that camera, I got lucky and it was very straight, but it was upside down. Yeah, under there. And I will have to wait until I don't want to move it now until it dries. I'll have to wait. Flip it over, or put it straight up and down probably. Yeah, I'll just put it straight up and down. Put some on there and it'll run right down to the bottom of that slot. And one cool thing is if you add some later, it heats up the original and kind of bonds to it. As far as hot glue goes, you know, being kind of cool stuff. But yeah, I was gonna try to move that. Well, I tightened it up so I could. I've raised that tripod up as high as it'll go. It goes up and down about 6 inches, but raised it up as high as I could go. I couldn't get it up high enough to be up and over the camera. That was the best way. It's kind of parallel with it, but that now it's upside down again, isn't it? See, when I twisted around on the tripod, then the cable twisted, even though it's in that. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can't see this thing. I'll show it to you now. I think I must be behind. Yeah, my camera's behind. I'm over here waiting. Come on, you can do it. Okay, so yeah, see, I've got 3, 4, 5 twist ties on, zip ties on there. When I first put them on there, I was trying to keep it from twisting in the this is the big paper clip I was talking about, the squeezy kind. They're just the right size with a washer. You can use your tripod mount to put it on there, and then of course I don't use that squeezing part on this one. I actually am on the other one. Camera 2 is it's clipped onto it's really a light stand, a tripod for a light. But anyway, it'll do that. So that cable is so about a 15-foot or more cable, maybe, yeah, 15, 16. I wouldn't say it's 20. Might be, yeah, because it's plugged in the computer. It goes up to the top of my rack, and that's back down here. Really stiff cable, and it's good for, you know, it's made so that you can stick it inside of your motor, which is what I really bought it for. You know, sticking down pipes or whatever. It's not waterproof. It's just water resistant. So you know, really, and I wouldn't want to stick it in the sewer. Then I'd never want to touch it again. But I thought about doing that to see what's going on in there. But what's on camera 2 now? I forgot. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna. My camera 1 has decided to get behind now. Camera 2 okay? Yeah, it's okay, but you can't see nothing. Let's go back to it. It might be okay after that. Yeah, it's okay now. That's really weird how it's really cool, but it's also can be a pain in the butt streaming audio and video over the Wi-Fi. I have that's how you're getting the audio too, is through camera 1. Camera 2 is video. Camera 3 is audio. But also use the SM58 most of the time because it sounds better and because it's more dependable. Sometimes these cameras will just quit working. The Wi-Fi stream will break. But anyway, but it's cool to be wireless and you can move around and everything. And like in this case, my mic needs to swing out right across where this camera's sitting. I don't want to move it now. I keep thinking I'm going to move it in my head, and then I remember, oh, you don't want to move it yet. So, and don't touch it. I was just fixing to get a screwdriver and poke it, see if it's dry. I did that when I was doing my Seagate hard drives, and I was very sorry because I got about a 3/8 size ball of it stuck to the screwdriver, and I had to go back and doctor up what I messed up and then clean the screwdriver. And I got it on my needle nose too. So I know. Don't you want to know if it's dry? Don't. I did that too last time. When it sticks to your finger, it also burns your finger. See, I'm not a hot glue experienced person. I'm inexperienced. So, yeah, now that I moved this tripod around, it's just not going anywhere where it should. What I had done is, the tripod, it was vertical, straight up and down. Yeah, that's vertical, perfectly, which is very unusual for that to happen because it twists every time you move the cable around. But it was upside down. It took me a while to notice it, and finally I said, "Oh, that's right. That's how that thing does." So then I got in the software and flipped it. I had to try 3 different times to get it right, get the right one, And I got an OBS Studio and I flipped it, and so it was all good until I moved it around. Now I think it's upside down again. But which is really strange. Okay, there's my little zip tie job. And see, it's moved. The whole thing is just all out from where I put it before, which is really strange. The camera's still sitting where it was. Tripod's is still in the same spot where I had it before. But can't decide which way to go. There we go. Yeah. I swear, that thing looks like it's longer now than it was a while ago, so it might have been really hot. I'm glad I didn't touch it. I don't know if it is actually longer, but hopefully that will keep it in place. I'll just have to, I'm always leaving it connected anyway. I've grabbed the camera just to use it by itself in a hurry, and I didn't even bother to unplug that. I just grabbed the cable in one hand, the camera in the other, and went off, to go do it. I do leave it set to where I can just grab it. I especially got to, when I first got it, I kept taking everything apart and putting it back in its box to keep the dust off of it and stuff. And it has a lens cover. And then we found out there was some deer living they were going through our backyard to get to the backyard behind us, and they were living under a trailer in the it's kind of like looks like a mobile home, but it's smaller, and I think it was probably like the kind they would use for a construction office. It didn't have big windows or anything, it could have been a trailer for living. I don't know. It's been there. I grew up in this house, and then I moved away and got married when I was 18 and came back later. But when we were kids, this lady moved in there with it, and it's been there since I was a teenager. And she's not there anymore. I never did find out what. She was a nice lady. I didn't talk to her much, but once in a while, a couple, 3 times, I used to have my 54 Chevrolet in my boat down there in the backyard, way down in the bottom of the yard. And she had her clothesline back there by the fence, and she'd come out a couple times and talk to me a little bit. And she was nice. Oh, and she was a waitress at the barbecue restaurant, and saw her one time in there. But anyway, she just disappeared, and we didn't know anybody else, her family or anything. She had a grandson that grew up there, but I don't know if she died or had to go to the rest home or what. But I haven't seen her in, 2 to 4 or 5 years now. But I think it's the grandson. I think he's, he's looks like he's about 35 to 45 now. The guy, I see a guy mowing the yard once in a while. I'm not even sure if anybody lives there, but you'll see somebody mowing the yard. Anyway, that's why the deer picked that spot. There's not a lot of activity there. I'm sure that's why the deer picked that spot. There was 5 of them that we saw one time, but there was at least 2 does and 2 fawns living. And the fawns, when they finally got big enough, well, one of them just disappeared. We never saw it anymore. You'd see them running around in that yard, and they couldn't jump the fence or anything yet. And I don't know if the other one got out the front of their fence and never got back in. Something happened to it. But the other one got bigger enough. That was this spring, and the other one got bigger enough that somehow it got out. We were trying to decide, do you think it's big enough to jump the fence? We never saw it jump, anything. But it would come in our yard. For the last time I saw it, for a whole week we'd see it every day, and it was sleeping in our yard. So that's why I think it couldn't jump the fence. Anyway, I made some videos of them, few videos, and and then I saw him. They're just so beautiful. And he was up right by our garage door, over by the fence, eating some brand new grass. I went and looked up what they like to eat and everything, and they like baby plants. And anyway, he or she just turned and just looked at me, didn't run off, didn't look scared. And then I just smiled at him for a while, and I didn't talk to him because I tried to talk to the mom, and it scared her off. She looked like she was trying to act like she was in charge, get down like she was going to charge, trying to scare me. I was making a video of her, and she didn't like that one bit. That was a week or 2 before that. And so I didn't try to talk to him anymore because, some people can talk to animals and they'll just come right up to them. When I talk to animals, they usually run away. So, and I'm trying to be nice. So, anyway. Did you have enough of the back end of the camera? I'm sure. Oh, now I had to do it. Oh, I can't get on the right camera. I was feeling of it to see it. It's still a little warm, but it's not hot. Yeah, it's pretty sturdy. I don't want to move it too early though. I was thinking, well, I'll just, quit the video, but I managed to talk long enough that I think it's dried enough I can flip it over and glue the other side. Yeah, I think it's sturdy enough. I'm just kind of worried about I think that the light was, that's the charging light, and I think the thing charged up. Let me unplug it from the laptop. Laptop doesn't have a lot of, it's plugged in, but to the AC power, because it runs 24/7, because like I said, it's my server, but my web server, but where's 2? But I'm trying to figure out, let's try to roll this back up, if I can do it without, I'm trying to do this to not jerk on that other part of the cable, and if this is all dangling and going everywhere when I try to flip it over, then that's going to happen. So just wrap it up enough. See, I keep a twisty on it so that I do that with most of my cables. I can just tie them up when I need to. So how am I going to... I need it to be upside down. Let me get this glue gun back over here where I can grab it real easy. Okay. Which way? This tripod is really wonky. The legs just flop. But what I'm wanting to do is that. And I'm right. I can work. Well, I used to could do most anything with my left hand, but now I'm not as good at it. So I was wondering, no, I can't, I don't, see, I've got that rubbery thing. I don't want to break it off where it's tied in there. So I think if I hold it, I guess I'm going to have to do it left-handed. So I was going to go on the close-up, but I don't think I'll ever hold that still. So, and this thing has these legs that are perfect for setting it up, but they're in the way every time you try to use it. And I noticed, I was watching some video the other day where I started paying attention to glue guns, and I noticed that some of them have a little metal deal that folds, and some of them don't have anything right there. So, yeah, this is not. It's good for being a good stand, but it's terrible. It always bumps into everything you try to touch. You know, you're trying to glue. There we go. Don't drop it. That wouldn't be good on the camera. All right, let's see what we got here. Well, I'm testing the strain relief that it gives. Forgot to. Can't get in front of the. There it is. There's my extra dollop, and it's just gonna have to stay upside down until it dries. And now what? I sit here and talk and hold it. I don't think it's not heavy, but you know, holding on to, and it's like I said, I drop everything all the time. My hands will just suddenly completely let go with the least warning possible. I can't find cam 2. How come I can't find it? I can't see tonight. There it is. Okay, so let me look at it with this. If it's got to the point to where I always want to, you know, with normal glue, you can, like quick drying glue, like super glue, you can touch it pretty soon. And it's got a spider web over it going from it, a glue web. Now, if I can get this to, it's a sturdy tripod as far as it's made out of metal, made out of steel and aluminum, kind of a combination. But those legs just flop, you know. They don't click or hold, and that can be good. Like if you want to grab it up and carry it, they'll just fold right, you know, instantly. But half the time they'll pinch you or trying to make. I've learned to keep my fingers out of the way, so that also makes me drop it more easily. So I was trying to go to the USB again. I think I got it. It's got stiff enough that I could turn it over. Okay, at least that's what I decided. I cannot find the. There. Still can't see it though. You can see that spider web though, can't you? That glue web. I'm not gonna mess with that till it's dry. If you get that, it'll kind, you know, if you grab that stuff right away, it's hot too. It'll burn you. But I can't see that stuff very good. So later, you know, when I go, like now, I'm sure it's dry enough to. Like now, I can't see. Oh, I saw it kind of stretch and break in the camera. I couldn't see it. I was looking with my eyes at my hands. I couldn't see it. I was like, do I even have it? Now I feel something on my hand. I think I've got it on my hand. But yeah, with that light shining out of that endoscope, it's actually showing. So that's an ugly mess, but I'm wondering now. I guess I can do that. I forgot I had done that a while ago. Now what I'm wondering about is that I think I better wait. I was thinking, you know, it's easier to cut this stuff and work with it before it gets completely dry. It's also easy to move what you've glued, and since that's just barely, that's going to be there if I don't mess it up. So now if you drop this whole mess and land on that, it's going to break that loose. But if I ever want it off of there, if I can completely clean it just with rubbing alcohol, or denatured alcohol would be good, even better because it doesn't have water in it like rubbing alcohol does. I usually get 90 proof, 90% rubbing alcohol because I don't like the water being in there. Well, I don't want to pay for water. You know, recently you couldn't hardly find any alcohol, so I did finally get some 80% because I ran out. I was waiting until I ran out to buy another bottle. I didn't expect the world to have a pandemic and everybody buys up all the alcohol. Nobody expected that, did they? Oh, and great, I left the light on the lights on, but nobody's home. One of the lights, it's kind of got a bad connection. I keep thinking on this thingy right here, that thing. And it used to kind of come on, you'd shake it and it would come back on, but now it just stays off all the time. I need to quit. You know, there's not really been any more coming out of this thing. I guess once it stays on long enough, it starts, I mean, it's still working, but it's not melting everything out of there like it I have seen it do before. Talking about this glue gun. There's all it has. Never can get in that picture. Thing is it delays. It's delaying too. Computer must be getting tired. But that's how much I've wasted. And I was thinking, well, I should probably go unplug it, but it's kind of hard to get to. So I'll do it in a second. That's still pretty warm. I think it's going to be all right, though. I won't know for sure till I can move it around a lot to see if I left a big pocket of emptiness there. But yeah, I'm going to let it completely cool down. And I was planning on using it for the next video. It's already 9:30. That next video was certainly not. It's looking like it's getting too late to start it. I hate that when I don't get much done, you know, anywhere near what I want to get done. But I'll see. I might go ahead and just. The problem is with me is I don't. I can't stop myself once I get going. I'll go all night. I don't know how many times we started a late video and said, okay, I'm not going, you know, I'll go an hour, and later on, maybe I'll go 2 at the tops, and then I actually end up doing a 5-hour live stream or something, you know, and I just get all into it and what I'm doing and just forget everything else, you know, like maybe I should go to bed. Uh-oh, the camera froze up. No, it's not froze up, it's way behind. Okay. Well, that's probably a good reason to, let me go ahead and go to the desktop and see how this FileZilla is still working away. It's going to be a while now, I realize. I can just let that run, though. Yeah, OBS is not doing anything out of the ordinary. FileZilla is not even showing up on the CPU usage. Would go to the graphic show of it. It kind of tells you more, but it also works. This this part of this system monitor is not bad. The other one, this is KDE system monitor, and also like the quick search deal right there. But so you can just search for whatever app you like. Say if Firefox freezes up, and you get over there and you look at it, and it's using up like 2.5 gig of memory, and I got 3.5 gig of memory, and I've only got 4 gig of memory on the machine, you know, and so I can hurry up and kill it. But if I notice it in time, you know, if I notice the machine is really lagging and acting wrong, those days should be mostly over with that server, though. That's going to be, I mean, I haven't done anything but use Firefox really on it, so and DNF to, you know, update it and stuff. But let's see how now it's just back to normal. I think what it did, I was using the dual screen, and we'll see now that I have 2 security cameras running all the time, and I've got 2 phone cameras. I got FileZilla transferring files over the wireless, and then from the phone to the computer, and the Wi-Fi mic that I'm still talking on. That's quite a bit for even for a pretty good. The D-Link's a gigabit route. Well, actually, it's a gigabit on the wired, but it's actually supposedly, I think they say 1700, but realistically it'll run at 1200 or something like that megabits per second on the Wi-Fi. I don't think it'll. I don't know. There's so many. I wouldn't say it won't do it, because I've played around with Wi-Fi monitoring. I mean, yeah, Ethernet and Wi-Fi monitoring apps enough to see that there's so much going on. If you have your web browser open, you'll have hundreds of connections coming and going, and some of them stay all the time, that you have no idea why they're there unless you research it. What am I trying to say? I was trying to say the name of the app that I like to use. This machine doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I can't use the Wi-Fi app. I can't think of it, but anyway, I was just using it the other day. So anyway, I'm hopefully that is straightened out to where now I can grab the camera and carry it. See, I've got a long enough cable. Like if I'm in here in the room and I'm making a video, say like I can carry it over to the closet to show my duct vent work and my duct fan. That's the next video that I'm wanting to make, so I won't go into all that, but do that in its own video. But instead of having to use the phones, because it's a higher resolution and it looks better. But in the phones, when if you move your hand, you ghosting. They're not. Well, they're going over the Wi-Fi. That's another. I think they don't think they really do that so much. If you're just making a video on the recording it on the phone, but when you're doing it through the Wi-Fi, I can't do 1080p over the Wi-Fi. I can only do 720p. But over the USB, this one does. The one between 720 and 1080 is 12 something, 13 something, 12 something, about 13 something or something like that. I don't remember the numbers. That's the only choice you've got with the USB output. And you also don't have, I keep pointing at it, but you can't see it, the camera. You also have a bunch of adjustments in there for the the video, the white balance. I use auto white balance, but the video, it's not really 4K. It says it is, but it's got a 13 megapixel Sony sensor, so they say. And haven't taken it apart to prove it, but it has. It's definitely a higher resolution than my 2 megapixel phones, but it has. It has all, lots of settings, things that you can set. I can't think of the color, the light, all that stuff. And it really, you kind of have to do that to make it look decent. Oh, now that's really weird how that does that. Sometimes going back to the desktop actually straightens out that when things get out of whack. See, OBS will drop frames to try to catch up, Now, see, now it's perfect. That doesn't always work. But sometimes you going to another camera doesn't help, but going to the desktop and then back to the camera that you're wanting to use now that there's no more lag. And I've tried all kinds of settings to try to fix it, and it really just does. It just does what it wants to. But anyway, the camera has. I mean, I paid $109 for it, brand new, and not as good as I hoped it would be, and especially the number one. I almost sent it back, but I decided not to because the audio was just horrible. And I believe it's the software. It's got some. I think it's got some compression and maybe noise gate in it that is overzealous and squelch. It sounds like a squelch on a ham radio or a CB radio. It's just terrible sounding when it clamps down, and it's constantly doing it. And it'll cut out some of your words when you're talking, and I don't know. It's obviously not just a straight mic, or else it's the worst mic in the world ever. And I mean, the mics, cheap mics sound, like $2, $5, $10 mics sound better than that mic in there. So I don't think, I don't think it's just such a crappy mic in itself. It could be. I mean, it's going to be one of those little chip mics like in your phones. You know, it's not as good. I mean, the sound on it, the sound's not great. And well, if it sounds okay in my phones, but it's a little condenser mic, and they pick up condenser mics are the worst thing in a noisy environment. If you're in a studio or a room where you can control the sound, then they can sound good. They can, you know, everybody wants to use condenser mics with their videos and stuff in there. Actually, unless you've got a really good recording environment, you really should be using a cardioid mic, something like an SM58. The favorite, I used to run sound for bands, and SM58s are the industry, you know, been the industry standard for dang near 100 years now, and there's a reason for that. Maybe it's not quite 100 years. Maybe it's between 50 and 75, but 57s and 58s, and that's all I really ever used. That's all I had to use anyway. But I did use it, like if I'd go mix somewhere that already had their setup, like a church, a big church with. I usually did sound for Christian bands, you know, punk and hardcore and grindcore bands and rock bands and some jingle rock bands with acoustic guitars and stuff like that. That's what I call them, jingle rock. But pretty much throughout the 90s, and I started learning to do it in like '83, but I didn't mix for bands until the early about '91 or '92 or something like that. But point being, I can tell you're getting tired. I can tell I'm getting tired when I just completely go blank. Either that or I can tell I don't feel good. And I didn't feel good most of the day. That's why didn't get started until, I bet it was 7:30 before I ever got going on my video. But it took me, of course, forever to get this all set up, because it's a completely different setup with moving my workbench over here and minus this camera and all that. I had to figure out how to do it all. And I felt like it took me 2 hours. It probably took 3 since it felt like 2 to me. But I have all my stuff out to, that's the other thing. I have all this stuff in here from working on my project and my vent for the server. I got the server in my closet, and keep talking about it. It's off right now. I'm using the Lenovo, but it's in the closet, and it you know, blocks the noise. Oh, you still can't see it. It's on top of that file cabinet. Blocks the noise enough that it doesn't bother me too much. It can get really loud when it gets hot, and when it's working hard, it can get loud. And so first I put a vent in there, hoping that just the natural heat rising would ventilate it, and it works okay if it's 75 outside or below, because we ended up having some cool days, like 68 degrees at night. And I had a filter on it too. Don't have it on there right now because I redid it. I'm going into my next video. I bought a vent fan and put it in, and it ran 2.5 hours and started rattling and making horrible noise. And it was doing the job. It was a shame. And so I'm going to take that fan out of the little case and everything, and anyway, I'll figure out what I'm going to do. I've thought about mounting some other kind of fan in it, because it's got a grill that when the fan's on, it will open up, and then when it turns off, it'll close. And I like that. Either that or I'll send it back, but because I can send it back. Got it at Amazon. Anyway, don't know why I'm still talking and haven't ended this video. I'm done with that part of it. Just gonna have to dry. Yeah, I could use it, but then if I decide to forget and decide to pick it up before it's dry, I'll be very sorry. That stuff does dry pretty fast, but it's not going to be sturdy until it really dries. That's what I was fixing to do, and I forgot. I think I'll go ahead and try doing showing. I kept talking about my Seagate. So that's what that's looking like right now. It's curing up. But my Seagate backup drive, one of them is right over here. Got to get stuff out of the way so you'll be able to see it. There we go, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move the old endoscope to where I can show that. Am I hitting something? No, it's just the cable's kind of hanging up on stuff. Okay. Oh, and it makes it turn. Okay. Always good. So there it is. Now, I did this a few days ago on both of my Seagate backup drives. Those things, those connectors I was saying earlier, they're proprietary. They're not the standard connectors on that end. The other end's regular USB. I always forget A, the big one, and it's working really well. They don't wiggle at all. And those things are being so short. That was really a design flaw. They're so short. The connector itself, not this part. And that part's very long. You know, the rest of it. So if you just bumped that, sneezed at it, you disconnect, and that will cause it to instantly power down. And if you're writing data, of course, at that time, you would lose that. But worse than that, the first one, that's the 8 gigabyte. I reformatted it to to ext4, Linux, one of the Linux file systems. And but the first one, the 5 terabyte, I went ahead and used the NTFS, you know, the Windows file system that it came with it. And I really was sorry after I got a bunch of data on it. Then I realized that was a mistake. From, you know, like if you accidentally, I have strain relief on it and everything else. I have it tied to the rack there, the cable. But if you bump that cable near that, or if you, at first I had them plugged into a power strip because I thought it would be better to turn them off at night, and it does. If you turn them off and then, you know, turn them back on the next day, then of course they're not running all the time. They make the drives last longer, but it also they're faster, noticeably faster in writing if you give them a break like that. You know, I mean, when you turn them off, it empties the cache and everything. So just like a computer, you know, you shut them down and turn them back on, they will empty the cache and the video memory and all that, and they'll run better. If you didn't know that, you should try that with your computer. You're running it all the time, and you wonder why it gets so sluggish. That might be the reason. Especially Windows machines. Windows doesn't. Well, it didn't. I haven't used Windows 10. I've helped somebody install it a couple of times, but I never used it. But all the way up through Windows 7, it was still like that. But anyway, the file system would break, and luckily, I was experienced in broken, you know, NTFS and FAT32 file systems, and even back with Windows 3.1, and I've learned how to fix them over the years. And at first, I was like, "Oh no, I've lost all that data." And then I thought, "Wait a minute," and I actually went and looked in their instructions, and it told you to do that. You know, to run the fix. I can't remember the commands, but you have to plug it into a Windows machine and say, I'm plugged into a Linux machine. So I had to plug it into something that was Windows, and really let's see, I don't remember how I did it. I think I still had one machine that I could use. I think it was an XP. Anyway, plugged it in and fixed it. It happened 3 or 4 times over the, you know, since I bought it. It's like 3 or 4 years old now. And but anyway, but sometimes I would flip my power strips off. I would shut down my computer and I would wait until it was shut down and then flip my power strips off. Sometimes I'd forget and just do it, and I'd forget about those drives, and that would turn them off while they were still mounted on the computer. And I know at least once, probably maybe twice, that I didn't realize it. That is what caused it to break the file system, that NTFS. Never ever broke the ext4. That's very robust, you know, dependable, robust file system. All ext2, 3, or 4, all of the. When I started Linux in 05, they used ext2. And anyway, that never happened to it, the 8 terabyte. And I had the other one a year or two before I bought the 8 terabyte. But anyway, it's been 3 or 4 years since I got the first one now. And so I thought about doing that way back, but I didn't really like the idea of gooping up the, doing that to them. But I figured it would work with the hot snot, putting the hot snot on it. And and anyway, I was just always instead I had, well, like I said, I have the cable tied to my rack so that can create strain relief as long as and I never do move them. I don't carry them anywhere or anything, but I do bump them by accident once in a while. And that rack, the keyboard tray over there on the I'm using this thing like a regular camera today. The keyboard tray, I keep hitting the other camera too, wrong one. Keyboard tray over there on the rack, I slide it in and out every day at night. I slide it in, and so I can get into bed, go to bed. But that cable goes that way, and I did that on purpose so that I could see it and make sure I didn't yank on it or anything. Because if I'd have put it behind the rack, I would never know when I was pulling on some other cable what I was doing to that thing. And I've experienced, doing that by accident and nearly breaking USB connectors or VGA connectors or something, because I'm yanking, I'm pulling, the cable's hung, you're like, dadgummit, and you don't want to go crawl back there and mess with it. And you kind of wiggle it or yank on it a little harder. And I've never ever really broken anything that way, but I've came close. And over the years, and I'm talking like over the last 20 years, I have yanked my routers off of the back of they're sitting on the back of the desk. They're all stacked on top of each other. Well, I used to just have one, but one time I yanked, like, there's 2 routers and a switch now, and I think when I still had just 2 routers, one time I yanked on the Ethernet cable, or it could be one of the other cables back there, get a hold that's wrapped around the Ethernet cable. I didn't know it anyway. I yanked them. I've yanked them off of there, and they fall. There's plenty of space behind the desk because there's a window and a curtain. I can't have it any closer. And I don't want it any closer. I don't want it jammed up against the curtains, So anyway, when it falls back there, it's like it fell into the abyss, having to get in there and get it back out. And I've dropped it before when all I was doing was trying to change cables around and stuff too. So that's a bad thing. So anyway, yeah, I can tell when I'm tired because I just don't know when to stop. Keep talking. I'm done with this. It should dry up just fine. I think it'll hold. Cool now. And you know what? I think it's cool enough now that I can go ahead and take the tape off. If I can get, there we go. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and get the tape off. I know you're waiting with bated breath to see what that's going to be like. Okay. Well, at least I am. I think I'm going to have to get my little knife. It's glued by the hot snot. Where's my knife? Here it is. Yeah, see, that's why that tape was on there. I may have to put another piece on there or something just to be able to. I'm gonna have to put one on there to hold up out of my way. If that thing was put on the other way to where when you open it, it dangled down. Well, I guess it'd be in your way of holding the cameras. Why they didn't do that, but it's in the way either way. But yeah, I can see where the camera's meant to be held in your handheld, and even with it on the tripod, it would be in the way. I can see that. So, oh yeah, this thing is still on. Is this thing still on? I can't reach it. I'm gonna have to move things to get to it. But here's what I'm thinking that I'm gonna be able to do. I can't figure out where to put my hand. There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut. I'm gonna end up probably scratching the. Let's see. I don't want to go any lower than I have to. Oh, it came loose. The little. Dadgummit. This Scotch tape is really. Well, I think it's because it's so. I think it's. I don't know how old it is. I think I bought a box of it 15, 20 years ago. But it splits and goes. It's not good for. It's not a good masking tape type of thing. I use it all the time on my. Most of my Ethernet cables don't have boots to protect the clips, and I've broken several of them. So I'll wrap them up if they're not plugged in, and then tape is just get that extra piece off of there. It wants to grab everything. This chair wheels on my chair want to stay in where they want to. Yeah, I'm going to go from the top here. Well, no, I think I'm going to, yeah, find the end of that. I just scratched the heck out of that, but it's the only way I could see to get it done. There's still a little more tape in there, but I think, and I was thinking about being able to plug in that, you know, keeping it, well, I didn't want to get glue in there, of course, but I was thinking of being able to plug that in and having a room to plug it in, but now I realize I don't think it would, you know, it's not going to do two at the same time. Maybe you could plug the HDMI in and have this USB not plugged in anything, it'll work though. But I'm going to have enough yeah, the camera view is not really helping much if I have to get in front of the camera to do it, is it? There we go. Yeah, I did to cut out some of that hot glue. I think that there's still, I don't want to have my hands to where I can run across the, yeah, now I can't take it off the tripod. I just, without cutting those. That was one reason why I had the rubber band on there, because I could take it off quick and easy. Although one time when my mom said, "Hey, there's deer, you can see the deer. Grab your camera." I went and grabbed it, and I wanted to get the cable off of it, so I fiddled around and fumbled around getting it off. And actually, I think that time, one of the times I missed them because I didn't get in there fast enough. But this thing needs to be bent down, son. I had it in a good position. There we go. Yeah, there's still glue right up there. Oh, okay, it's just a little. See, when I start kind of getting after it, the whole camera is moving on the tripod. I didn't even pay attention to how straight it was, or not. It'll move sometimes and I don't realize it. You'll notice it because the picture will be crooked. What's going on with the USB? The computer must be getting tired, because that only happens when the computer's getting tired. Okay. Yeah, it's slowing down. I'm going to have to get off of that camera. Okay, so probably with that copying the files, it's probably beginning to work, fill up the cache on the computer. Copying of lots of files does that, and it ends up using up, if it gets some reason, Well, maybe it's really not filling up the cache like cache files, or you know, Linux uses a temporary file partition. What's it called? Which works really well. But what'll happen is, I guess, the memory. I was saying how Linux does really well with for the most part, I guess, with keeping the memory clean. You know, managing it. But when you're copying a lot of files, backing them up, the memory will start getting filled after a long time with huge files. I mean, my video files they're all going to be 3 to 10 gigabytes. Now, these aren't that I'm copying now. They're from the security, when I was using the camera. One is a security camera. For some reason, I'm really able to do it over the Wi-Fi and it not take 3 days, you know. But anyway, the memory starts getting filled up sometimes, and you end up having to abort the job. And the computer will just lock up. This one will. So Lenovo with an i5 processor and 4 gig of RAM. That's why I bought that server with 2 6-core processors and 64 gig of RAM. Sorry. I thought I was getting. I don't know what happened, but now it's when it was 78 and something degrees. Now it's 79.2, and that's why I'm coughing. And oddly enough, it feels like the air conditioner's on. Felt like it just came on. What I don't want is to cut some of this off and have it go down in that connector. Let me try this other magnifying glass that's up closer. Yeah, now I can see better. I don't think that there is enough room to get, even without the glue that I put on there. I could have not put it on the top, but I was more concerned about it staying. I thought there was more space. Trying to work on that camera, I really don't see, and why I didn't grab this one during the process. This one that's closer up. Usually I can't see as good with it because it's smaller and it's really close, and you got to hold it. Well, I was trying to do it on the camera too, but you got to hold this magnifying glass. Most of the time I can't really use this close-up one very good. Drainage is killing me. That's what happens when I get too hot in here. I don't think that even it might have been able to plug them both in without the glue, but with the glue, that other one ain't going in there. I really didn't put that much. As a matter of fact, because of the tape, it didn't even make contact. I just now realized it didn't make contact with the, you know, the little. It's not the body of the camera. It's a little insert that's screwed in there, like I was showing earlier. It's almost like a cover. I got a bunch of glue up there on the side, little spider webs. Oh, that's not glue. Looks like it from that angle. It's part of the decor metal little chrome bar, plastic chrome. But let's see if I can use the endoscope again for a bit. I think it might work enough to show you what I've done there. Rose up. Yeah, it's not it's not refreshing. I think the computer's getting tired, like I said. So yeah, see, and if I keep on cutting on that, I'm not going to do it, I guess, unless I decide I want, especially, you know, it's not, I want it to dry really overnight before I put stress on it. Glad I put a big bunch of it on the bottom. That, I think, is going to end up holding the up and down movement. Yeah, that's a good bunch there. Good and solid. Yeah, the top didn't actually, because of the tape, which I had to do that. I would have filled that thing with hot glue. But there's not a whole lot there. It looks smaller. Well, I guess it is. It looks bigger in the video to me there than it does in real life, but it's still hard for me to see it. So, yeah, I'm not going to work. I know that the width of the connectors, at least the ones I have, they're wide enough that I think they would hit this one even if there was no glue on it whatsoever. And like I said, I'm not in a situation to where I can really even use it, except for if I wanted to go plug this into the TV. That's the only thing I've got. Well, and I don't have any reason, I don't do that. I use it, I do all my stuff in here. I do have, well, the HDMI, I've got I think it's 30-foot long HDMI cable I bought for a TV, and I didn't end up using it years ago. Anyway, that's why I'm running from the video card that I bought for my server over to my monitor. But my monitor, it works for the video, but it's a DVI-D, and I'm using a DVI-D to HDMI adapter, and that works, but you don't get the audio. So unless I decide, I actually looked at them, but unless I decide to buy turn that light out on that. Just makes it get hot, and then if you touch it, it'll burn you. Unless I decide to buy a new monitor, I was kind of thinking about it. Seeing me, that camera's delaying. I think the handwriting's on the wall that I need to quit trying to record video. So yeah, I don't have unless I buy a new monitor. I wouldn't unless I bought some kind of sound card, video card. Well, this video card doesn't have an input. Unless I bought an input video, it's just a regular. It's an 8 gigabyte, and it's got an HDMI, DVI-D, and 3 or 4 display ports. But I never had any. I don't have anything that uses display ports, and I read up on them the other day, and I just saw something about some of them. I think some of them are inputs and some are outputs. Well, just like HDMI, but anyway, I don't think I have any inputs on that card. I'm certain. I don't. I'm almost certain. I wasn't even thinking about it. You know, that wasn't what I was looking for. I mean, I thought about it, but anything like that's usually real expensive, and so I would like to have an HDMI input on the server, but I don't think I'm going to be spending that kind of money to get a card like that. And with that video card, it can draw up to 150 watts. I did buy. It came with 460 watt power supplies, 2 of them, and I went ahead and I was worried about that. That's the top they can put out, but they will put that out. The manual says that they will put it out. You know, they can run that all the time if they need to. But I thought, well, I want some headroom, you know, in that power in case I want any more PCI cards or anything. So I found some 750 watts, and so I've got two 750 watt power supplies in it now, and so I'm doing. I haven't done any work with the video card yet. Watch YouTube videos, which actually does more work on a machine than you would think. Of all the things I do regularly, that's the most resource usage intensive thing that I do. But now that I have the server and everything, I should be able to, like, if I want to edit videos, I should be able to edit my videos, and it's gonna. And once I get everything set up, my ventilation working, I'm gonna let it run 24/7. When it gets high heat, it gets too loud, but if I get a decent fan, one that's not too loud but does the ventilation well, then I can just turn it on and let it run. I'll install Fedora 32 web server in a virtual machine and let it be my web server for my website. Then won't have to run that laptop like that anymore. I don't like doing that. It's hard on them. I already ruined the battery. I had another old laptop, actually not as old as this one, but more beat up. I got it given to me. The battery died on it from running it for months and months, 24/7. This one had a bad battery, but we bought a battery for it. Now I really don't want to ruin it. It's a really nice little laptop. This one was a real not good shape. It's only a 1.6 gigahertz Celeron single core, but it's a real. My niece bought it brand new, and she gave it to me when she, moved on to something else. And I just like it. And so this is permanently wired for now. And but I can pick it up and just pick it up like this, and I didn't know I was that far behind. Pick it up and you don't see it. So I can pick it up and carry it easy enough. The DVI, I won't be able to use it at all unless I work really hard at cleaning up that glue. But then again, if this is not plugged in, there it is finally. See myself holding the camera in the preview. if the USB is not plugged into anything, then maybe the DVI would work. Be interesting to find out. But I'll have to clean that glue off the top of there. I'm not going to do any more. I want to make sure it's good and set before I mess with it anymore. It feels pretty sturdy already, but I don't want to, sometimes, like, especially I've seen with hot glue, you think it's set pretty good and you bump it or something, and then the whole thing lets go of what you thought you had it glued to. So, and I do want it to be able to come off, and see if I have any trouble getting it off, I can put alcohol on it, and that won't hurt the electronics. Electronics contact cleaner is mostly alcohol, so, and I could use that, my CRC electronics cleaner, but I don't want to waste it for that. But so that's a good idea if you want to. I think, I haven't done it. Of course, I just did that a couple of weeks ago on the Seagate drives, but I think that for something you want to be able to reverse, and get it off of there without a lot of trouble, I think that hot glue is good, as long as you as long as you remember that you can clean it with alcohol if you want to take it off. You don't have to scrape it off with the old no, this is not an X-Acto knife, it's a box cutter, but yeah, you're gonna see, my audio and video was so out of sync it's not even funny. So I'm gonna go and let me see what happens if I can move this. That's what happens. Oh, hurting. So let me see. I wanted to get off of the wireless mic and see if things would go back in sync, but it looks like fat jets. Okay, let's see. How's that one doing? It's working okay. Let's go back to cam 1 now, see if it gets back in sync. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I thought I would at least, because what I've learned by previously, whenever the audio and video gets way out of sync, if I go ahead and say bye-bye and stop the video, depends on which is ahead. It's usually the audio is way ahead of the video. Sometimes it's the opposite. Can't even remember too. So anyway, if you do that, you cut it off in the middle of a word is what happens. So I thought, well, let's try to if I can get it back in sync before I go. All right, so yeah, see running. Anyway, I could go on forever about all that. So that should do well for what I do with it. Mostly what I do is set it somewhere on the tripod, like I'm doing with these cameras here, you know, and that make my, you know, and I use OBS to switch between the different views. It's pretty cool to be able to do multi-camera shoot for cheap. Those phones, when I bought them 3 or 4 years ago or more, they were $15 each. Bought one and I liked it, so I bought another one. And I bought them. I was looking at. I didn't have any kind of video camera, except for a webcam and a computer that was horrid, you know, and a laptop. I mean, it was hard. Another laptop, and some very old webcams. They still work, but they're just too low a resolution to be much worth using. So once I figured out how to use one of them for a wireless mic, well, I was set to go. 2 cameras and a wireless mic, and the SM58, which I already had. And my effects, I ended up buying the mixer. I was just going straight through the Preamp 2. That's really a guitar effects unit, but it does actually have a few vocal effects in it. That's what I'm using: compressor, noise gate, and a little. It's called a reverb, but it's really kind of an anti-reverb. You don't want a reverb on the voice when you're talking, unless you're trying to be a, you know, a commercial or something, a radio announcer. So anyway, now that I have that Komery camera, then and it does USB and regular recording onto itself. So now, like, I can, most of the time I have the 3 cameras, you know. I have that one up there, this one that's over here right now. Usually it's behind me. Usually I end up using it on the monitor, pointing at the monitor to show what I'm doing on there. I was going to use the Komery for that because it's a higher resolution, but it when it's plugged into USB, it just washes out the video. It doesn't work. All the settings in it don't work when it's USB. It's just like one basic setting and it won't change. And the auto white balance doesn't work, nothing works. Well, I guess the white balance is working, but the light adjustment, you know, the automatic light adjustments. Like when you point at the monitor, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's bright, you know. So I can't use it at the monitor unless I'm recording straight onto it. Then it does okay. That's fine. But if I'm doing a live stream and sending out the USB, then I can't. So, I'm getting pretty darn hungry. It's 10:15. I'm going to have to eat. And then after I eat, really, if I got any sense at all, I'll pick all my mess up. I've started to show it to you, but I don't want to. I got my bed full of all my stuff, you know, that I can't believe I even had room to. Where did all that stuff come from? Some of it stacks here on my workbench that I keep there all the time. It's really one of those projector tables like you'd see at school, but I got it. My friend gave it to me years and years ago. It makes a good little rolling workbench, and I keep stuff on it that I use all the time, and all the tools I've got in here for working on that project. And I've got stuff down at the foot of my bed that I took out of the closet so I could work in there. And so really what I'm wanting is to get that finished, but then I thought, well, you know, every time I want to pick up that camera and use it in my video, I can't because of that, because you know, one day, about 2 weeks ago, I guess, all I did was just pan it and bump that cable, killed the video. So then I had to grab another camera. Luckily, I have more cameras, but I grabbed one of these others. And you know, sometimes this Wi-Fi camera sometimes they'll quit. One thing that happens to me all the time, if I end up being up at all night doing it, I have my router set to reboot automatically at 4 a.m. Well, I always forget that that's going to happen. When it reboots, I lose both cameras and my wireless mic, you know, because they're all over the Wi-Fi. And sometimes whenever it reconnects, they'll reconnect, and I'll have 1 or 2 of the cameras working, but the mic, for some reason, this one, the camera 3, just hardly ever reconnects. And you have to close OBS and open it back up to get it working again, and so then you got to end your stream, and it may be right when you just got started. So this is camera talk and camera fix day, I guess. That's all it ended up being. That's all right. Got something done. That's always good when you get something done. All right. Well, I'm gonna go and yeah, the next time hopefully the next video I'll make will be about my vent fans for my server closet. Okay. Of course, it has clothes in there too. Talk to you later. Bye bye.